So there was this moment that changed everything for Susan. Her father, just 52 years old, suddenly passed away from a heart attack. It was a shocking turn of events that left her world turned upside down. Her uncle, at the age of 48, had quite the story to tell. Imagine a man at the age of 55, full of stories and wisdom, like a living legend in his own right. This is her grandfather, a figure who has seen the world change around him, carrying with him the weight of experiences that could fill volumes. His life is a tapestry woven with moments of joy, struggle, and triumph, each thread telling a unique tale. What every single warning sign was right in front of us. But Susan thought to herself, I'm different. I'm a woman, and let me tell you, my journey has been anything but ordinary. From the challenges I've faced to the triumphs I've celebrated, every moment has shaped who I am today. Join me as I share my story, filled with ups and downs, laughter and tears, and the lessons I've learned along the way. At 54, she found herself in a hospital bed, and that's when the truth hit her hard. Genetics was just one piece of the puzzle. It was her lifestyle that truly shaped her fate. Her lifestyle choices had taken a dark turn. Susan Miller had always felt a sense of pride when it came to her family history. Well, at least most of it. The Miller men were legendary for their sharp minds, relentless work ethic, and unwavering commitment to education. In the quaint little town of Cedar Falls, Iowa, a legacy unfolds as 3 generations of dedicated teachers and professors come together, shaping the minds of the youth and leaving an indelible mark on the community. However, there was this other family tradition that Susan tried to push out of her mind. The Miller men had this unsettling pattern of passing away young due to heart attacks. Meet Susan, a cherished 4th-grade teacher at Lincoln Elementary. At 54 years old, she had dedicated an incredible 28 years to shaping young minds and making a difference in her students' lives. She had a reputation for delivering captivating science lessons that drew everyone in. With her patient demeanor, she worked wonders with students who found themselves struggling, and she had this incredible knack for turning learning into an enjoyable adventure. But when it came to her own health education, Susan found herself in a risky situation, completely unaware of the dangers lurking in her blind spot. It was a pattern that everyone could see. But Susan? She was determined to believe it didn't apply to her at all. It was a typical day when tragedy struck. Her grandfather, Thomas Miller, a dedicated teacher, suddenly collapsed at his desk, surrounded by a sea of papers he was grading. He was just 55 years old, and in an instant, everything changed. It was a typical day at school, filled with the hustle and bustle of parent-teacher conferences. But everything changed in an instant when her father, Robert, suffered a fatal heart attack right there in the parking lot at just 52 years old. Tragically, her uncle David, a passionate educator, passed away at the young age of 48 while dedicating his time to coaching the high school debate team. Heart disease runs in families, Dr. Jennifer Walsh had cautioned Susan during her last physical exam 2 years ago. Little did she know how those words would echo in her life. Given your family's background, it's crucial that we stay on top of prevention. But Susan just brushed off the worry with a casual wave of her hand. Dr. Walsh, those are the guys in my family. Women enjoy the protective benefits of estrogen throughout their lives, and even when menopause hits, they still find themselves at a lower risk. Honestly, I feel totally fine. No symptoms at all. So here's the thing about Susan. She had this little secret, one she wasn't even admitting to herself. Her lifestyle, it was like a ticking time bomb, packed with all the worst cardiovascular risk factors you could imagine. Crazy, right? Over the last 10 years, the pressure of being a teacher has skyrocketed. Imagine pouring your heart and soul into a career you love, only to watch it transform into a whirlwind of stress. That's exactly what happened when larger class sizes, slashed funding, and never-ending curriculum changes took over her once-beloved profession, leaving her in a constant state of anxiety. So, picture this. Susan, in the midst of her lunch breaks, finds herself reaching for cigarettes. It's a habit that traces back to her divorce 5 years ago, a time that changed everything for her. Just a couple of cigarettes to handle the stress, she'd convince herself, making sure to hide the evidence before stepping back into her classroom, where she educated her students on the perils of smoking. As her stress levels skyrocketed, her eating habits took a nosedive. In the hustle and bustle of school life, the cafeteria served up quick processed meals that were easy to grab. Meanwhile, Susan found herself in her evening routine, grading papers and munching on whatever was at hand, often reaching for crackers, cookies, or that leftover pizza from lunch. Exercise was basically a thing of the past, with the only movement happening between classrooms. Her colleagues couldn't help but notice the irony. So, there was this amazing teacher named Susan who really knew how to inspire her students. She dove deep into the world of healthy lifestyle choices, sparking lively discussions about why exercise is so crucial. And get this, she even took it a step further by organizing the school's annual health fair. How cool is that? But then, things took a turn. Her cholesterol levels started to rise, blood pressure was on the edge of high, and she noticed she had gained 40 pounds since her divorce. "Do as I say, not as I do," she would laugh, a playful smirk on her face as her fellow teachers caught her in those little contradictions. For months, the warning signs were piling up, but Susan kept brushing them off, convincing herself there were other explanations for each one. Ever felt that tightness in your chest during those super intense faculty meetings? You know, the ones where the tension is so thick you could cut it with a knife? Yeah, that feeling is all too real. It's just anxiety. Ever felt that tightness in your chest when you're just trying to make it up the stairs to the second floor? It's like your body is throwing a mini tantrum and you're left wondering what's going on. Let's dive into that feeling and see what it really means. I've really let myself go. The strange tiredness that hit her hard by the afternoon. Teaching is no joke. Despite the increasing frequency and severity of her symptoms, Susan's deep-seated gender bias kept her in a state of denial. She always thought heart attacks were a thing that happened to men, particularly the men in her family. So, picture this. A woman at 54, living her life, and then suddenly facing heart disease. It's a shocking twist, right? But let's be real. Heart disease usually doesn't hit that early, especially not with such intense symptoms. It's a wake-up call that no one sees coming. It was just another typical morning on March 15th, or so it seemed at first. As Susan geared up for her class's science fair presentations, she suddenly felt that all-too-familiar tightness in her chest creeping in. This time, though, it came with a wave of nausea and an unusual ache shooting through her left arm. It's probably just the flu, she thought, pushing through as she arranged her students' projects, determined to keep the day moving forward. As the morning unfolded, things took a turn for the worse, and the symptoms really started to ramp up. It felt like a heavy weight was pressing down on my chest, and the nausea hit me like a tidal wave. It was a typical day for Susan, but little did she know, everything was about to change. As she went about her routine, a nagging feeling crept in, but she brushed it off. It wasn't until she found herself in the grips of a massive heart attack that the reality hit her hard. The moment she realized something was seriously wrong, it was already too late. It was a typical day at the office until everything changed in an instant. Maria Santos, just going about her business, stumbled upon a shocking scene. There was Susan, collapsed in the supply closet, clutching her chest, barely hanging on. What happened next would leave everyone in disbelief. As the tension in the room escalated, the school nurse quickly dialed 911, urgency in her voice. Meanwhile, Maria stayed by Susan's side, her heart racing as she watched in horror, seeing Susan's lips turn blue, fighting for each breath. "Please don't let me end up like my dad," Susan murmured, her voice barely audible as the paramedics hurriedly placed her on the stretcher and wheeled her into the ambulance. In the bustling halls of Cedar Falls Memorial Hospital, Dr. Marcus Chen, the emergency cardiologist, sprang into action, determined to restore blood flow to Susan's heart. Time was of the essence, and every second counted in this high-stakes situation. It was a shocking revelation. The left anterior descending artery, known as the widowmaker, was a staggering 95% blocked. The implications were serious, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Susan, Dr. Chen said with a serious tone after the successful angioplasty. You've experienced what we refer to as a STEMI, a significant heart attack. In the dimly lit cardiac intensive care unit, Susan found herself surrounded by the beeping of monitors and the hum of IV lines. It was there that Dr. Chen stepped in, ready to guide her through the harsh truth of her situation. Your genetics set the stage, he said softly, but it was your choices that made it all happen. Smoking sped up the buildup of plaque in your arteries. Imagine this. You're grinding away at work, day in and day out. The stress just keeps piling up, and before you know it, your cortisol levels are through the roof. This isn't just a minor issue. It's causing inflammation and skyrocketing your blood pressure. It's a wild ride, and not the good kind. As the truth dawned on Susan, it hit her like a ton of bricks, leaving her breathless and overwhelmed. I always believed that being a woman would keep me safe. Whoa, that's a risky misunderstanding, Dr. Chen said, shaking his head. Even though women usually see heart disease show up later than men, the risk factors you have taken away, any shield that might have protected you. Did you know that when a woman smokes alone, her risk of having a heart attack skyrockets by 25%? That's a staggering statistic that really makes you think about the impact of smoking on health. When you look at it all together, family history, stress, and not-so-great diet, and that couch potato lifestyle, you realize you were actually facing a higher risk than a lot of guys your age. The numbers hit hard, leaving a weight in the air. Dr. Chen shared some eye-opening insights about Susan's health. He revealed that her genetic predisposition could explain just 20 to 30% of her risk. But here's the kicker. A whopping 70 to 80% of it was completely in her hands. Talk about taking charge of your own destiny. Imagine a time when her father, uncle, and grandfather were navigating life, facing challenges that seemed all too familiar. Back then, the link between their choices and heart disease was a mystery, something they just didn't grasp. It's fascinating to think about how much has changed since then. It's heartbreaking, Dr. Chen said, because this heart attack could have been avoided completely. If you had tackled those changeable risk factors, like kicking the smoking habit, managing your stress levels, eating healthier, and getting into a regular workout routine, your genetic predisposition probably would have stayed under wraps. So let me tell you about Susan. Her journey wasn't just about getting better, it turned into a total lifestyle makeover. She made the bold decision to quit smoking right then and there, realizing that to keep going would be like playing with fire, especially considering her health situation. She took a brave step by enrolling in cardiac rehabilitation, diving into the world of proper exercise techniques while forming bonds with fellow heart attack survivors. It was a journey of healing and connection. The dietary changes turned out to be a real struggle. Susan embarked on a journey to transform her eating habits. She dove into the world of whole foods, lean proteins, and vibrant vegetables, leaving behind the processed convenience foods that once filled her pantry. It was a challenge, but she was determined to make a change. She bravely confronted the stress that had been creeping into her life, slowly taking its toll. Susan decided it was time for a change. She cut back on her work hours, dove into meditation techniques, and started setting boundaries that safeguarded her precious recovery time. It was a journey of self-discovery and empowerment. 6 months after her heart attack, Susan stepped back into the classroom, but this time she had a fresh outlook and an incredible story that would inspire everyone around her. After facing a life-altering moment, she found herself with an incredible opportunity to share her story. It wasn't just about teaching her students anymore. It was about reaching out to her whole community and spreading the vital message of heart disease prevention. I used to believe that genetics was everything, Susan shares with her students today. I discovered that genetics is only the beginning of the journey. Every single choice we make shapes our lives and decides if our genetic traits turn into our actual reality. In a vibrant and dynamic setting, Susan's classroom has transformed into an exciting hub for health education, where every lesson feels like an experiment in learning. She dives into her journey, revealing her medication routine, talking about the lifestyle shifts she's made, and proving that the choices we make about our health truly matter. And guess what? Susan's incredible transformation has inspired her fellow teachers too. Imagine this, a school buzzing with energy as students gather for a walking group before classes kick off. The cafeteria is now a haven of healthy choices, and faculty members are diving into stress management workshops. It's all about creating a vibrant, supportive environment for everyone. If heart disease runs in your family, it's crucial to take action before any symptoms show up. Don't wait for the warning signs. Be proactive about your health. Have you ever thought about how your genes could impact your health? Well, it's time to chat with your doctor about genetic testing. Discovering your cardiovascular risk can be a game changer, and personalized prevention strategies might just be the key to a healthier future. Don't miss out on this opportunity to take control of your health journey. So, here's the deal. Genetics might set the stage, but it's your lifestyle that decides if the show goes on. Think about it. Today, Susan is all about keeping her heart health in check. She sticks to her medications like clockwork and embraces the lifestyle changes that turned her life around. Her journey is a striking reminder that even though we can't alter our genes, we hold incredible power in how those genes come to life. Hit that subscribe button to dive into incredible stories about how early intervention and lifestyle changes can conquer even the toughest genetic challenges. Your family history doesn't have to define your future. You have the power to change your path and create your own story.